Hi, welcome to Building SaaS with Python and Django. My name is Matt Lehman, and on this stream we work on Django apps. We're going to continue on a migration from Heroku to DigitalOcean for my journaling app that I've been building for this stream. All the code for this particular app is all online, so if you want to check it out, you can go to Matt Lehman on YouTube and find the playlist and look at it from the beginning. So we are on Heroku currently with this site. And we're going to move it over. So I've got all of these things done. It's not a small project, but we've been stepping through it on different streams, and we're going to continue on that path offline. So one of the things I said I wasn't going to do on stream, not even attempt to do on stream, is mess with where the secrets are stored, because it's so possible to leak that out, and then I got to rotate secrets and change passwords, and I don't want to do any of that stuff. So I did do that offline. Well, I guess it's online, but off stream, I suppose is the better terminology, and started to create all of these values. So everything that you see here is something that I did create a secret for in 1Password. And from 1Password, we can then access these values in the different configuration files that we're going to need for this app. So let's bring up the terminal and get everything started and get to it. We've got to activate the virtual environment, and then we're going to look at, where do we need to start? I think we need to start in the Kamal secrets directory, maybe. Oh, it looks like we already did some of that stuff. So I did this speculatively, and we didn't finish it. So the way this is set up right now is it's all pointing at school desk, but I believe I called this JourneyInbox. I'm going to guess that that's the value because I don't want to open up, again, I'm trying to avoid opening up 1Password. So we're going to assume that that is the correct name, and we will just translate this to JourneyInbox. I'm pretty sure I did not give it any kind of dash. If the worst case we get it wrong and it seems like it won't actually connect. We also need to do some stuff. I realize now that this machine is not configured to actually use the OP CLI. So that's something that we have to start up as well. Boo. Well, I didn't really think about that, so that's going to be a bummer. And then we need to go through the different values that are over here and create them where they don't match up. So the secrets file that's here, the way this works with Kamal, which is the tool we're using, is this is sort of a script that gets run, and it populates these variables and sources them in terms of whatever shell is running. So then these values become available to anything that needs to read the secrets that are stored here. So we are reading from 1Password, we're stuffing it into a variable, and then our other things that need to use, other configuration that needs to use this, can then access these values. It's kind of the flow of this. The 1Password provides a command line, a CLI tool, which is the OP that we see here. So we do OP read, and then they've got this path syntax for this first JourneyInbox is the vault, and then there's the an item within vault. You can have like typically an item could just be like a simple login for some website, but they also have a server item type, and within that server item type, you can set multiple password fields, which is what I did, and then I named them so that they match up with the names of our variables. So I'm not going to show what the 1Password side of this looks like, but you will at least see, or you can have that symmetry. So if you were to do this with 1Password yourself, I've explained each of these parts, so it should be pretty, you should be able to do this yourself if you wanted to do something similar. But we need to make sure that what we have in this list matches up with what we have on this list, because there are certain things that the school desk application uses that the JourneyInbox one does not, and vice versa. So we got to check this list. One thing that it will be the same is the Kamal registry stuff. I did go set that up. The Kamal registry password refers to the password that is the access token that will allow us to log into Docker Hub and put up our Docker image, which will be a vital part of deploying with this app. So that is what that one is. That one's already set, and is why it's the reason why it's separate is because it's in one section of the secrets management. In fact, I can probably bring up the other config file and you can see it. So we've got, you can see here on, what line is that, 26, that we've got Kamal registry password. But then we also have our different environment variables down here that we will then pull over from here. So that's how this works. So anything that is a variable name in this secrets file can be accessed in this secret section on the actual Kamal config. All right, so let's triangulate these things with our GitHub issue and see what we're missing, and just go down this list. And then the reason I have these as checkboxes is because I hadn't put them in code yet, so that's important to get right. So we will start with the admin URL token path, and so we'll say admin URL token path, and we'll go down to here and whoops, come on, Matt, type better. Change that. So that one's done, and let's do a little separator here so I know which ones are JourneyInbox and which ones are the others. So we have that. We're also going to need the same thing as a secret, because if we don't inject it over here, then it doesn't matter if we've defined it here. So you got to do both sides of the plumbing. So we're going to need, and I'm not going to explain what each of these settings are, so just forgive me for that. But we'll start with admin URL token path. And along the way, we can reorder these things. Akil, good to see you. Thanks for joining in. Okay, so that's one down. There is this comment. So the Heroku app had this allowed host settings thing. And allowed host is a Django feature. So I just said I'm not going to explain them all. But the ones that are crossed out here, I feel like there's some necessary explanation. Allowed host is a tool to make sure that when somebody else externally is submitting to a Django app, that can validate the host name and make sure that it's a request that is expected. Because of the way the Kamal proxy is configured, I couldn't plumb that through correctly, and so I could potentially be sacrificing a little bit of security here. It's not enough. I want to say that the default for Heroku apps was to use star unless you overrode the value. So I don't feel too bad about this, but that's what's going on there. And I carried this configuration over from Schooldesk, so you see already. In fact, I've got a big long comment here that explains why this is. So maybe there's a way that I can correct this in the future, but for now, that's the way that is going. So we're going to consider that one checked off. So we need the AnyMail webhook secret, which I thought for sure would be over here. That's surprising. So let's replicate that, and we'll say AnyMail webhook secret. And if we get any of these wrong when it comes time to deploy later, what's going to happen is 1Password would read this and say, like, what? You don't have this. So that's going to be the way we will check that all of these are configured correctly. So we've got the AnyMail webhook secret. We'll put that over here. AnyMail webhook. And similarly, I think Kamal itself will complain if any of these keys are not present in this file over here. Okay, so that's that one. And we'll just march through this. Well, this is an interesting one. So this other one that's crossed out. When I was working with the app in Heroku, we would connect to a remote Postgres server, and we would use database URL to actually populate that. And that's going to be, it should even still be in the settings file. I don't know that I get rid of it. I hopefully just commented it out. Database, yeah, it's still here. We haven't even switched to the new configuration yet. But in the setup that I want for my application, I was hoping to actually use a database directory, and instead of using DJ database URL, we're going to get rid of that entirely and just assume that everything's going to be SQLite all the time. And what we really are specifying is the path. So that setting is not going to carry over, which is why I have it commented out. We will eventually switch this to dbdir as a path that we'll put in there. And I think, yeah, you can see that's already set. So this is the plan is that on the host machine, because remember this stuff is going to run in a Docker container, we will do a volume mount to a directory called vardb. And then our database will be configured to look at that directory. That's how that will work. So that's why we don't need to follow through on the database URL. Okay, DJ Stripe webhook secret, right? DJ Stripe webhook secret. Well, that one is thankfully here, so we can move that up. We're going to try and take advantage of the existing ones as much as possible. So move that there, and we're going to get these alphabetically. The email SendGrid reply to is something that did not exist in my other app. So we'll do email SendGrid reply to. And I recognize that this is not like super riveting coding here. This is moving of configuration. But again, the promise of this app is that you see all of the bits and bobs, even if they are less than stellar entertainment. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask them. Happy to go over that as well. And we don't have too many of these, and some of these will start pulling from the other app. So I think a lot of this will start to go faster. So we have the hash ID field salt. Yep, and that's over here as well. Akil, you have a comment here. Let me read through it. I advise you to start building a project. Oh, cool. Fear AI? Oh, you're oh. You know what I thought you were saying? I thought you were, and I don't mean to like laugh at your fear. I thought you were just trying to say that there was a product called Fear AI, and I just misread your message. Well, I don't think it's hype, but there's the doomers that are saying like AI is going to take all of our jobs. There's the people on the other side that are like AI is just statistics. It will never take over programmer jobs. Or maybe never is too long. That's being too extreme for that point of view. It will be a long time before that happens. I'm sort of a moderate on this view. Is like I think that AI is going to get rid of hopefully like some of the boring grunt work that we have. But it'll be a while. Like it's at least from my perspective right now, and this could change if AI is truly exponential in its growth. Then, well, all bets are off for like all work, right? Like, what does it mean when AI can do any knowledge work better than anybody? I don't know that. So that I'm going to assume, for the sake of discussion, that exponential growth is like a ways off, which is probably a failure of humanity in terms of that thinking that way. We tend to think linearly and can't really fathom what truly exponential stuff means. But that's like the world I'm choosing to live in. So I view AI as becoming a tool that will slowly get better and better at augmenting your work. And you asked what my experience in real life is I was using AI today. I'll give you a really good example. So at work, we have a lot of things that we need to it was two companies that merged together. There's a bunch of stuff that was left behind that company A did it one way, company B did it another way, and now we're trying to fuse things together into like the shared way for the merged company. And one example was I was working on SFTP file transfer. So the way healthcare works in the US with a lot of companies is if you have customer eligibility data, which is like basically who you are, your address, things that like if you're a company that's coming to Included Health and you want to say my employees are able to have your telemedicine benefit. So it's one of the things that Include Health does. Then they want to say, here is the list of employees that you should be able to say, sure, you can use telemedicine. And so we have a pipeline to receive files from our customers, and our customers are like companies, like a Walmart, that sort of thing. So we receive these files and then process this data and keep track of who do we know about. So if that member comes to us through a different avenue and they sign in and use Included Health service, they can, and then try and use the telemedicine stuff, we can say, yep, you're covered. we got you. So that was probably more like domain context than you maybe cared about, but in that process, we receive files from a lot of our customers via secure file transfer, and then we do some stuff to process that data. So in the areas of duplication that we had, both of these legacy companies that merged together had their own way of doing secure file transfer. And so I was working on today, what is the design that we're going to have for our unified secure file transfer that will work in our system today. And I promise I'm getting to the AI bit. So it's looking at a lot of Terraform stuff to actually figure out what parts of AWS do I need to use and how would I configure that stuff. And while I'm knowledgeable in infrastructure, I'm not like a hardcore DevOps person. So I had a lot of questions for about Terraform, the tool that my company uses, to understand some of. I was able to look at some of the source files for both projects and see like, oh, this is how this one did it, and this is how this one did it. But I had a bunch of questions about, wait, I don't know what that means in Terraform, and I could guess, but I'd like to have a more clear answer. And why would you do it this way versus that way? That sort of stuff. And so I fired up an AI, ChatGPT, and I started asking questions of saying like, hey AI, I need to understand, please explain a data source versus a resource in Terraform and give me why I'd use one versus the other. What's the context of that? And then was able to have a lengthy dialogue and discussion about that kind of work. So I have found that AI has, especially for technical conversations, almost replaced Google for me, where it still has the chance of hallucinating, but the AIs they're getting so good on their data that yes, I might need to still go check some references, but there's a lot that it does get right. So that's where I think AI is a positive thing. It augments my role and it helps me become a better developer. And then I still need to go do the work about, I know the specifics of my coding situation and the different designs. And because if I gave AI the problem of, hey, go create a solution, like here's the broad problem, go create a solution that's going to work for everything that considers all these healthcare things, I think it would fail. Not because it's totally incapable, but because of the amount of inputs that I would have to tell it to understand all of the requirements. So I don't fear AI today. Check with me in 10 years and see if I'm still feeling good about it. So I think it's going to be a good tool is where I'd come out on it as well. Yeah, you're right. There will, if the AI does take over, programmers will certainly not be alone. I think, if anything, programmers are probably one of the safer jobs in terms of AI automation. Like the stuff that's already going away is a lot of customer service stuff. Many of these chatbots are getting smarter and smarter to the point where that would be a tough industry to be in, because I think the need, like a smaller number of support people can do more support work. Like maybe AI handles all of like the classic like tier 1 support, which is the really simple stuff, and that when the problem can't be resolved, you go up to like a tier 2 support. So I guess if I do have concerns about AI, it is in like early entry into the industry, in lots of industries. Like I think unless you get into that knowledge soon, there's a bunch of stuff that AI can take out. And that is a real, you talked about getting into programming. There's just a risk there that comes along with being new at something. But I don't think that companies have done a good job. Like I don't think that companies are truly replacing their entry-level programmers with AI. As much as there are Silicon Valley startups that would have you think otherwise, I just think that's not happening. Good question. All right, let's carry on with our project here. So we've got the secret key. So let's get that from up there. Keep these alphabetically as we got them. And that was already over here, so I think we're good. And whoa, there's secret key twice in this list. Get out of here. Okay, then SendGrid API key. So both tools use SendGrid, so there's SendGrid here, which means SendGrid's going to be over here. All right, neat. That one's done. Both websites use Sentry. So there's a Sentry DSN that's there. And that's just like the little config value that they have to know which project to point you to. So that's that one. And then looks like there are just the 4 Stripe keys. So that's these bottom 4. So I think we can get rid of... Oh, why is the rollbar access token? Huh. School Desk does not need that. I must have just copied it over mindlessly. So if we do this, we've got those 4 and those 4. Okay, I think that's it for the configuration stuff. This is probably not the extent of setup Kamal, so let's continue this a little bit before we can go on to the next thing. Maybe it is. Go to the top. We haven't set up IP address. That's not a surprise. Okay. This stuff is not gonna work yet because we haven't done any DNS. There's a challenge here of like, and I don't know, I don't feel like, I don't know. This is one of the areas with Kamal that I feel is it's got a bit of a, like, the sequence that you need in order to get the app going is a bit rough because it almost feels like everything needs to be ready all at once. And that's kind of surprising because if you go watch, like if you go over to the Kamal website, which is over here, and if you watch David, this gentleman right here, you watch him go through his tutorial, it's pretty slick. And I do think that he goes all the way through and sets it up on some actual DNS stuff. Maybe I'm in a weird situation because I'm migrating from a live site, so that's tricky. Yeah, not sure what to do about that. So how can we do this? Trying to think of the best way to proceed. Well, let's start with this. Let's commit these secrets changes. We know we have that much to do. Let's add that stuff. Say add secrets to Kamal config. And this is 4. And I'm not saying it fixes it yet because I think there's other stuff we want to do. 4 number 243. Okay, let's push that up. So, where do we go next? Oh, I guess we're definitely going to need this. Let me think through the sequence that I want to go through. So, did secrets. We want to do 1Password next. That's definitely the mechanical thing we want to do, but is that the sequence for the migration? There's one strategy we could do is we could get the site set up. We could get the whole droplet set up on DigitalOcean. We could go through and deploy the app and get things working as much as possible. And then, oh, here's the problem. Well, maybe it's not a problem. I'm trying to convince myself, what happens if the other site is up? And is it going to affect, is it going to be a problem? Is it going to create some problems? Namely, like we wouldn't want to send out emails as a good example. So the whole the app that we're building, this journaling service, uses emails as the primary interface for people that are using it. So you reply to the email to add an entry to your journal, and so the email stuff needs to work. And there's going to be a worker that's periodically going to run. So if we actually deploy this service to a droplet, we want to be careful that that regular task that's going to run is not actually going to do anything for real. But I think it's going to be okay because there wouldn't be any users. However, what if somebody tries to sign up with the site? That's what I don't know. Well, worst thing we could do is we'll have to tear it down, and we'll have learned some stuff along the way. So I think we'll go that path. We will set up 1Password, get the CLI, and get it working on this machine, and then we will go ahead and try and create the droplet. We'll for the moment assume that it's going to be the real droplet that's going to serve traffic, so we can set it up with everything that's needed. Oh gosh, we're gonna have to do SSH keys, which maybe I already did. Don't remember. And then we can try and deploy. And I guess all right, there's a lot we'd have to get through here. If we don't get to a satisfactory point, worst thing that happens is I just say, oh, I'm gonna tear that droplet down. So I think that should be okay. So let's start with the 1Password thing. So we need 1Password. So let's go to, let's look for 1Password CLI in Google and see if it gets us the place to start from, because I don't remember. We've got brew here. And along the way, it might prompt me to be like, hey, you need to log in. So I'm gonna have to switch to secret screens and stuff like that, but let's try it. So we're gonna brew install 1Password CLI. See how it does. I think while that's going, let's also go ahead and get Docker started, because we're going to need Docker running. Okay, so there's Docker. We have OP version. All right, we've got OP. That's the 1Password CLI is running. Let's check on what it says to do next, because there are multiple steps here. We have to get the desktop integration going. So we need the 1Password app. Let's open a new tab there. Okay, you use cookies. Get this. Download, go. Oh, that's tiny. Is it really just that tiny? No way. And there are probably ways that I could script this better so that I wouldn't have to do this in future, but I don't tend to do that with apps, because usually when I start a new machine, I tend to like to start from a clean slate of, do I really still need that app? Otherwise I carry around a bunch of baggage. So let's see. All right, so it's gonna ask me to sign in. Oh man. I will have to, okay. Scan the QR code on your 1Password. Oh, well, I'm still gonna put this on secret screen, but I'm gonna try this. So I'm gonna bring up my 1Password app, which is then going to prompt me to put in a password to unlock my stuff. So I'm doing that right now. Seeing if I get it. Okay. So there's the use scan QR code. I gotta find, where is this scan QR code feature? Don't know. I want to do it. Sorry, y'all. This is not going as fast as I want. If I do search, nope, that's like search through my stuff. Well, that's stinky. Come on. What do I have to do? Or maybe if I just bring up my camera app, will it figure that out? I'm gonna... No. No, it did not. Well, come on, 1Password. Where are you supposed to go? There's the items list. There's I'm on the home screen. Yeah, I'm gonna give you a bad review soon if you don't give me. Let's ask me for reviews and stuff. Profile, maybe there. Okay, this is dumb. Let's look up where's the QR thing on the mobile app. Wow. Where is the QR code on 1Password? Android. Select the icon for your account. Ah, there it is. Okay. That was stupidly hard to get to. And it's asking me if I want to, well, I probably won't share what it's asking me to do. So, yep, unfortunately there's like stuff about me. I should have put that on secret mode. Hold on, let me see what I can show. Yep, bummer. Okay, well, I can switch over to JourneyInbox. And there we go. So you can see, actually, this is, said I wasn't gonna show this because I might show something I shouldn't have, and that's exactly what I did. But not passwords, but you know, whatever. So what we've got here is, this is the JourneyInbox vault. There's the server item. Let me see if it's actually safe to click on. I'm gonna click on it. Yeah, okay, it's safe. There's nothing, you've already seen all these values. So I created this server item, which I got through by going new item, and you can do more. And one of these is server right there. And I just named it server. And then it had a bunch of stuff here of different kinds. And I just kept adding password fields. So like you can add more fields. And then it'll say password, and you just double click on password. And then you can change it to whatever you want. So that's what these are. Pretty simple way to store your passwords in a style that's similar to Heroku. Okay, we've now done the step that was required. So let's say get out of here. That was step 2. Oh, still have more to do. All right, I'm gonna put it back here because I don't. It's probably gonna show like. It's probably going to show stuff that it shouldn't be showing. So I'm going to now click on, it claims there was a developer section, which I'm clicking on. And then what did it say to do? It said, integrate with 1Password CLI is the thing to do. So I'm looking for this. So I click, it's not quite the instructions they had. They had a view CLI step, and now I'm saying there's a section that says enable integration. So I'm going to click that button, and I don't know. I guess that worked. I don't know. We'll try it. Let's see if we will list vaults that we have. So let me bring back y'all. Oh, that was terrifying. I thought it was like somebody, Wendy Appleseed, was prompting, but that's their example in the background. Okay. So I think we can do this as the sample command to list some vaults, and these IDs are probably safe to show. I don't know. Maybe I'll just hide those two. So we're gonna come over here. I'm gonna go back to the secrets for a moment. I'm doing op vault list, and it is prompting me to authorize when I'm clicking the authorize button, and it's listing a bunch of IDs for different accounts different vaults that I have, and you'll just have to take my word for it. Okay, so we should be in business, I think. So let's go back to this, and we've added 1Password. And now 1Password is running as a desktop app, so it should be anytime we need to interact with 1Password, there's a certain window where it like caches my authorization, but it will prompt me for a password, and I would have to type that in. Okay, so time for gosh, there's all sorts of stuff that, how much do I want to show? Let's try creating a droplet. So I'm going to log into DigitalOcean. I'm going to make sure that I can show it, and then we'll try and create a droplet. So let me pop this back up. We'll go to DigitalOcean and opening the website and trying to fill in the information. I'm logging in now. And I don't know why. Come on now. Fill it in. Go. Go. That's weird. No, there it is. All right, so it's asking me to do a two-factor authentication. And I gotta bring up DigitalOcean here. So punch in the two-factor code. I'm verifying the code. And can I show this screen? I think so. Let me check 1 second. Yeah, I can show the screen. All this stuff should be public enough anyway. So here we are on the DigitalOcean dashboard. So you can see I'm spending some money now. School Desk is definitely running, operating. That's the homeschool application that I've built. I also do work with my local community, and I've built this community website that's here that publishes events that are happening locally in town. And this is a little Django app that also uses Kamal, but I've got that on a small droplet, and I'm letting that run too. So that's that. So this will be a third project. And the cool part about this switch, not that the cost was a huge factor, but that by switching to DigitalOcean and using SQLite, I keep the cost down so that having 3 projects will actually be cheaper than just having 2 projects on Heroku. The Heroku build was about $32 a month, and after this is done, it'll be like $24. It's like $8 or $9 per project. Not much. We've got our droplet. So what we want to do is go ahead and create a new project that's going to be the home for all the JourneyInbox stuff. So let's say the name of it is JourneyInbox. I don't know, JourneyInbox. I don't feel like I need a more specific thing there. And are they going to make me fill this in? It's a web application. Okay. We do not need to move any resources into JourneyInbox because this is a brand new thing, so we can skip that. And here we are. So the thing what we need to do is create a new droplet. Using the New York data region is fine. It's actually preferable because it's close to where I live. And truly, this app is for me first and foremost. I am the default user. Not that everybody else would have a bad experience, especially since it mostly works via email. But I want my experience to excel. We're going to put it on the same VPC. That's fine. I don't have any, there's not like weird security stuff I needed to switch about this. So that should be okay. We will use an Ubuntu, standard Ubuntu image with 2410. Like it? Yep, that works. There are a bunch of different options here. And I was thinking about this, like this app particularly does not need to be like on a crazy fast. We don't need premium stuff out of this. And if I pick, I will save a little bit of money, $2, if I put this on a standard SSD. Performance wise, we're going to take a little bit of a hit. So let's talk through this. SQLite. It writes files, right? That's the way it is. It's like it's writing to a file on the host operating system. And the implication of this is that suddenly your disk speed actually matters. If you want to have faster queries, a faster hard disk will give you more performance. In this case, though, I don't know. Maybe I should just do it because it's really, we're talking about like an older SSD. The thing we're looking for, and you can see it here, which is kind of hinting at it would be to our benefit. So if I'm thinking that I run this site for a long time, then going ahead and switching to this other option is probably preferable. So NVMe is a standard on SSDs, and as you can see from this little note, that it has a big improvement on read and write speed to the hard drive, to the SSD. So if the database that we're using is file-based, those read and write performance really matters. So I've done some research here, and we're at a point in time. This is December 12th, 2024. So somebody viewing this in the future, this may not be true anymore, but at least at the time that I researched this within the last couple of months, the premium AMD seemed like a much better value than having a premium Intel. So I don't understand. Yeah, and it was cheaper. So I don't get it, but that's where we're at. So we're gonna do this. We certainly don't need $28 a month. This app does not need that. We can get away with fitting all of this on a 1 GB of RAM, 1 CPU, and 25 GB of SSD storage space. That will be plenty. Okay, so that's what we're going to select. We're on the basic stuff. We're using AMD with that NVMe. We're picking the smallest size. And if you have a hobby project that you want to start down this path, you don't know how many customers you're going to have. One of the cool things about DigitalOcean and these SaaS vendors is, let's say you're concerned with like, well, am I going to have to redo everything if I need a different size? The way this works is you can turn off your machine and you can pick a bigger size. Now going back down, I think is harder because if you, well, just logically think about it. Let's say you were up here and you ended up using 30 GB of your storage, and then you're like, well, but the way this is being used is people aren't using all of that data and they're not using that transfer. I want to go down, but then you're over the amount of storage that's available. So you'd have your options they become different once you do that. So going up easy, down a little bit harder. So maybe start low if you can, and then ease into it would be my advice. So we're going to start on this one, and I guess the same is true Well, the same is not true of the SSD type, I think. I don't know. But it's $1 a month. I'm okay with that. We don't need, so this app is going to be tiny. This journal, these are text entries. They compress super well. There's just not going to be a lot of, I could have 10,000 users and have more than enough space on 25 gigabytes because these are daily journal entries. So there's just not a lot of data consumed by this application. So I don't need an extra data volume to attach to the droplet. If you had a bunch of data that you needed to care about, you could add a volume there. What I will do is I'm not going to go through some process to set up some extra external automated backup tool. So I will put an automated backup plan on this. We'll do this. I don't need it to be, well, we're talking, what is that? 70 cents difference per month daily. So what would happen if this failed? Is the question that we should maybe ask, like from a disaster recovery perspective. If my site went down and I only had weekly backups and there was popularity, I would lose journal entries for my customers for that week. Right now, that would mean I would lose journal entries for myself. It's not unrecoverable from a customer's point of view because it is all via email. So if it crashed, like the worst thing that could happen is someone would have to go manually create their journal entries by going back to their email, assuming they didn't delete them. But this is probably one where daily backups are the most sane, especially since it's a daily rhythm for this. We'll select daily backups, and the time of day, local time zone is 11 p.m. to 3 a.m. That works, sure. We only want, well, okay, I'm going to put it both. When we connect to this thing, this droplet, we want to be able to SSH to it. In fact, when we harden it, we're going to turn off password authentication so that it's not even possible to get in unless you have the SSH key. So I have two machines. This is my personal computer, and this Mac Mini M1 is this streaming machine right here. So I'm going to put both of them. And what that does is DigitalOcean, when they prepare the machine to actually connect to it, they will take, so they in my account have SSH public keys that I've given them, that I've got the private key on that machine, the private key on my laptop. So when I do an SSH call to the IP address, the private key will connect to the public key that has been stored into the actual droplet itself. This is why we have to check them. What they're doing is they're saying, in my droplet, in DigitalOcean account, they have my public keys stored, but they don't want to have to go to DigitalOcean every time I do an SSH. So at this moment of time in this creation process, they drop the SSH keys into the droplet in the right place so that I can do that connection. So we've got that'll allow me to access this. We will go ahead and take their metrics stuff. That's cool. It probably has some kind of performance cost of running some little daemon on their machine, but that's okay. And we don't need a managed database. I don't think there were any advanced options that we care about. Yeah, I don't have any initialization scripts that I want to put in there, and I don't need to run it on v6. So this is going to be our host name. That's fine. It's the only one for this project. Although I have found this, so this is like the same name for all of my droplets and across the 3 projects. So if you ever do a resource transfer and you're trying to find a host name, it doesn't really like that. So actually that's the prompt enough. Let's put a little prefix on it. So JourneyInbox dash. How about that? And so this is going to cost me $9.10 a month. So it's $7 for the AMD processor setup, and then $2.10 for the daily backups. So you can see across 3 projects that are all similar configuration, we're looking at $27 a month. And I bring in enough revenue from, at least from School Desk, to kind of offset that cost. And there's a little bit of, I have a subscriber here for JourneyInbox. So cool. It's if I factor in the subscriber that I have and the fact that I was previously paying for a service myself at a rate of like $4 a month, I'm basically getting equivalent to what I used to be paying for when I was doing somebody else's service. So let's create the droplet. There is one more thing that we'll need to add. The thing that we need is an IP address. There's an IP address that will come here. You can see it. So it's 161.35.655. The problem with this is that this particular IP address is attached to this droplet. And that is annoying if we ever need to change to a different droplet. So let's say my upgrade path for this is every year or two. Rather than like upgrade the box and do a bunch of stuff, I want to just spin up a new droplet, move the database over to the new droplet, and then go, and then tear the old one down. It's going to be a pretty clean way to not care so much about this particular droplet. But if I were to use this IP address and I had my DNS configured to point at this IP address, then that's going to be a problem. But one of the features that's common to not just DigitalOcean, but a lot of these things is, where is it? You can get a different IP address to attach to a droplet and put in front of it. And I don't think they call it elastic IP. Oh, there it is. They call them reserved IP address. So the idea is you can get an IP address, and as long as it's connected to a droplet, they will not charge you extra for it. But let's say if I reserved an IP address and then I was done with this project and deleted this droplet, then they'd start charging me for the privilege of having that IP address, because IP addresses globally are in limited supply. So DigitalOcean would like to be able to take that IP address and recycle it and give it back out to some other customer. So reserving an IP address puts in essentially another label, another way to access this droplet. And the cool part is, so here's, if this is the reserved IP address and you've got potentially a droplet that's connecting here, if we wanted to start a new droplet, we can switch what this reserved IP address points to. So it's kind of like a load balancer. It's not the right term here, but it's a traffic routing mechanism of saying we're done with the old one, we can point to the new one, and then we can destroy the old one. And the nice part of that is that that IP address that's reserved becomes the anchor point that I can use for DNS and anything else that needs specific IP addressing, and I don't have to worry about needing to update that configuration in the future. So if you are setting this up yourself, you should absolutely take advantage of a reserved IP address or something similar. AWS will call them an elastic IP address. You'd have to look at what each vendor calls them, something along those lines. So we know that we've got this JI Ubuntu here. Let's go start using a reserved IP address. Click it and see what happens. So we've got, here's the School Desk one, and you can see how this is working. So I've already got 2 reserved IP addresses. This one is for my Tech Frederick project. This one is for the School Desk project, but we want a third one. So we want to assign to a droplet, and good. Yeah, there's only one droplet to assign to, and we want to add reserved IP address to this droplet. So to add more than 3, I have to submit a ticket. Well, thankfully I just have 3. Okay. And I only know of 3 projects that I'm going to have, but that's an interesting constraint. I guess they don't, again, IP addresses are this like precious, starting to become this precious commodity, is that Once we move to IPv6 fully and the network, like the internet is ready for that, then you could have, each of us could have 1 million IPv6 addresses assigned to us, and we'd never run out in our lifetime. But the IPv4 address space is just so much smaller. So let's return over here. Hopefully it'll show a new IP address attached to it. Yep, cool. And I think this, and they even show you in this little icon how it's reserved. It's got that behavior of there's a point in front, and that was actually pretty close to the kind of thing I was doing with my hands. So we want to copy this IP address. That's going to be our IP address for this machine or this project. And now we can come up to our Kamal configuration and plug that in here. Also, we can do, well, in fact, that should be enough. Well, we haven't actually started up Kamal yet, so these commands aren't going to run yet. We've not actually run Kamal. So if we SSH to root at that IP address, we should be able to get in. So it's saying like, I don't know what I've never been here before. Are you sure about this? And yes, this is where I want to go. So now we're at the box. The first thing I want to do is do an apt update. So let's go ahead and do some of that. Actually, let's go ahead and check some of these things off. So we've created our droplet. We are going to harden the droplet. That's the next thing. And I think, where did I put those instructions? Put it in here. I think I left it in the homeschool code. Let's bring up the homeschool tab. I think it's in this README. Harden. Nope. There it is. So this essentially what we're going to do with this is not very complex. It's almost like just making sure that the, if a state agency, like, I don't know, the NSA, the CIA, NSA, or the equivalent in Israel or China, really wanted to get into my machine, they're going to get into my machine. It's not going to be a problem. But what you want to do is make sure that it's not that the script kiddies, the people that are like running little scripts constantly to poke around and see what they can find on the internet, you want to make it hard for those people to get in. Just like the reason that you might lock the doors in your house. Like somebody who really wants to get in, they're going to break down the door and figure out some way to get in, right? But the casual thief, I don't know, someone who is less motivated or doesn't want to get in that much trouble or fears the repercussions of those choices, a lock is a simple enough tool to dissuade them from trying to get in. So that's effectively what we're trying to do on the server here. This is a good best effort here to make sure that there's only one way in, and you would need my SSH keys to do it, and that's a reasonable amount of configuration. But before we do that, let's go to the actual terminal here, and we're going to do apt update. Now we're logged in as root, so we don't have to do sudo in front of it. So we do apt update, and then we'll do apt upgrade. Whoops, that was update. Apt upgrade, sorry. And that's going to update these like packages that I don't know why. This is what's weird to me is like DigitalOcean, come on, y'all have the base image. Why are you not like making sure all these packages are updated? Yeah, it's weird. So this will run, get some stuff, and get us in a place where, at least at this moment in time, we have pulled down everything that's the latest for this machine. And this is a maintenance cost that was not there for Heroku totally. So if we need to do periodic updates, that's a true new maintenance cost. What we did have to do with Heroku is Heroku had this notion of stacks. And we would have to upgrade the stack. So the stacks would track with the Ubuntu version. So if you had a, I can't remember what kind of names they gave them, but you'd have to periodically say, like, move me up to the next version, essentially. So whatever, when they're putting your software on different things in their system, they put them on one stack versus the older stack. But if we're not doing this very often, this kind of work, then we get about the same benefit. Like if I'm only upgrading this machine once a year to a new version of Ubuntu and just doing what I was talking about of starting up a new machine, taking a downtime on the actual app, which should be pretty easy to do, booting up a new version of the app, and then moving the reserved IP address over, I don't really have to worry about a lot of this operation stuff. So we did update the kernel here, and that's not going to apply until we restart, I believe. Yeah, restarting the system to load the new kernel will not be handled automatically. So we can do, I think it's called reboot. Yeah, okay. So reboot is a shorthand for a shutdown command with a time of now. I'm not going to execute this command, but on Linux it looks like shutdown -t now, which will tell your computer to shut down right away. I don't know if it works on Mac. So I'm talking because the machine shut down, and then the DigitalOcean cloud will notice that there was actually like a signal to reboot, so it's not like it should shut down and stay off. It should come back up. So it takes a moment for that to run, but I bet if we by now, if we try and SSH, yeah, we're right back in there, and we have no updates to apply. All right, so let's continue on that hardening path to get this done and just be able to check this off. And that might be where I want to end tonight, and then we will actually deploy Kamal stuff next time. So I guess we're going to leave this for a week. It's kind of sitting there doing nothing, but that's okay. Only on a cost of $1 or $2. It's fine. So we have the need to harden this. So I had that README up, and so we've already got our SSH keys in there. So now we're safe to turn off password authentication. So we're going to go into this file, etc sshd. So let's open that now. We don't have Vim, so oh, come on, my fingers are so used to typing the N on there. So we want etc ssh sshd config. So here's this file, and we want to look for password authentication. Password, and you can see to disabled tunneled cleared text passwords, change to no here. So that's what we want to do. We're gonna copy this, change this, and do a no as our value. And that's it. I mean, that's the only modification to the file. So we changed the file, that's the config change, but now we have to restart that SSH service. So we do system control restart SSH, system control restart SSH, and now at this point we should be in a state where the SSH daemon will no longer accept password login attempts. So that's good. It's kind of like locking the front door. Now the other thing we're going to do is, maybe if I was to belabor some analogy, board up the windows, make it so that there's no other entrances that are allowed into the house. So UFW stands for the uncomplicated firewall. That's a built-in firewall tool that is available with this Ubuntu machine. So first thing we want to do is say UFW allow open SSH, and that is a translation for allowing the open SSH port, so port 22, I believe. So it's updating some rules, so it knows about the name of OpenSSH and treats that. So maybe it's more than port 22. I don't know. You'd have to look that up. But I know that we're saying, like, this is the service we care about, OpenSSH, permit it. The other thing we want to do is, I don't remember what this rule does. UFW default deny incoming. So maybe it's saying like other requests. Actually, let's ask ChatGPT. All right, in Ubuntu's UFW command, what does UFW deny incoming default, or is that what it was? Default deny incoming. Default deny incoming do. See what it says. The default policy for incoming connections to deny. You have to denied traffic is blocked and discarded. Now, what I don't understand, because I've done this on my other one, wouldn't that also like reject incoming HTTP requests? And I don't feel like I had to open up anything specific for HTTP. So this is often used to secure a server or a desktop by default, especially in a scenario where you only want to allow specific services like SSH HTTP. Yeah, I really don't know why HTTP is still permitted. Maybe there's a rule that is in the default configuration to allow that. I'm just going to roll with it. You can hopefully roll with it too with me and trust that it worked when I did it on this other stuff. So default deny incoming. Okay, so we've got that set. And now we need to enable it. So previously the UFW, the firewall wasn't on. So by switching this, we will go. But since we allowed SSH, we're not gonna, our existing SSH connection should not be interrupted, I hope. Yeah, here we are still. So the firewall is active and enabled on system startup. I wonder if there's a way to get like a list of the rules that are allowed. Like show show firewall report. I don't know. That sounds interesting. Oh, there it is. List. UFW list. Didn't I? Oh, what? UFW app list. UFW. Oh my goodness, I can't type. App list. Available applications. Open SSH. Thanks, John. I figured that HTTP would be in the default rule set, but I'd love to see like evidence of that. What? All right, let's go back to ChatGPT. How do I list the default, or not the default, the current rules applied for UFW? UFW status. Okay. UFW status. Well, there's OpenSSH. Where is HTTP? Huh? I am confused. I don't know how this works. Status verbose. Maybe there's a more. It would imply, wouldn't it, by this that like port 80 is not going to be allowed? And 443? I don't get it. Don't get it. Because I am pretty positive. Like if I come over to the homeschool version here and do Kamal SSH. Oh, is that not what I called it? What? Hold on a minute. Sorry. What's going on? Oh, not a dot directory. Config, deploy. Kamal SSH. It totally is there. Am I on an older version of Kamal? That's an alias. Kamal version. Kamal, oh, come on. Kamal version. 183. What version of, we're 2. Okay. I'm on an older version of Kamal, so we're gonna have to update. I guess when I did this, right, we're on something else. So which Kamal are you? ASDF Shims Kamal. Okay. So we should be able to do, what is it? Because I got this through Ruby, through ASDF. So gem, how do you upgrade a gem? Gem install, is there an option to upgrade? All right, too lazy to read through all that stuff. In Ruby, how would I upgrade the Kamal gem to the latest version? Don't have a gem file. Come on. Update globally. That's what I want. Gem update. Okay. Gem update Kamal. So the difference is that in the Kamal 1.x version, they didn't have this aliases feature. Starting in Kamal 2, it gave you this ability to put in an alias. And that's what I have in that configuration file. So now we should be able to do Kamal version, see something new, hopefully. Good, 230. And then we should be able to do Kamal SSH. And because I have that alias in my machine, that should work. I should have the M1 key in there, so it should get me in. And now we should be able to do UFW status verbose. And you can see, but I know for certain that HTTP traffic is working because this is my homeschool application. So I'm really puzzled right now of like, did UFW not go on when I enabled it? A little alarming. So I'm mystified. I'll maybe solve that later though. So I'm just going to assume that this is right for now. So I think that's the hardening that I wanted to do. We've got the uncomplicated firewall turned on. We also made it so you can't log in without an SSH key. So that those two things in tandem with each other should greatly restrict what kind of external things are allowed on this droplet. So that will get us to a point where I think next time, which I think that would be next Thursday, I don't see any reason why I wouldn't be here, we'll be in a really good position to essentially try out the Kamal path to get things started. And since we haven't done, well, I suspect there's going to be a couple things that will blow up in our face. Like the database stuff is still configured to point at database URL. And we didn't provide that, so it'll probably blow up. But we can make that change. We can leave it at database URL for a little while because there is some back and forth we're going to do switching between this and Postgres in order to load data. So we're getting close to the end here where I think next time we can maybe do the dry run, maybe get the whole thing done where we actually do the actual shift over. The other bit here that we want to set up, I think before I'll commit it this way so I don't forget now, is when we get to this point, let's put this on a temporary subdomain. So we'll hook this up in our DNS setup so that the droplet version of this will be on a staging website for now, and that the real one that's still on Heroku continue to be served from there for the moment. This will just be temporary until we actually do the cutover. But what this will allow us to do is verify that Kamal is properly doing the let's encrypt stuff and getting real certificates here. And I suspect that if we didn't put this on a real DNS setup here, that the Kamal deploy would fail because it's saying like, hey, I can't get the certificate stuff working. So that is what is in our future. And that leaves us with just a couple of changes here, which I'll say set the IP address and hostname. And this is for 239. Okay. I'll push that up. So that feels like a pretty good stopping point for this evening. Thank you for joining in. Do me a favor if you don't mind, leave a thumbs up on the content if you enjoyed this, learned something new. Like I said, we will be back next time. We will push forward. I would love to get off of Heroku before the end of the year. And if we've got next Thursday, well, the one after that is like, what is that? The day after Christmas? So I don't know if I'll be streaming that day. Let's see if it's even possible to get, will we have more than 2 streams? We'll do next week, and we'll see. I'll see how I'm feeling if we do one on the 26th or not. But if I'm not streaming again by that point, hope you have a wonderful, happy New Year, and I'll catch you at a different time. So with that, take care.